the entire side of this locomotive is a truss rod, which starts at the end on the polling pocket, which we haven't talked about either yet. The polling pocket has a big nut on the end of it, and then the rod comes across at this level, goes down, you can just barely see it, goes under a saddle here, goes at this level to another item called needle beam, goes back up and out through the other end. This is meant to help hold the center of the locomotive up. In my opinion, it was overkill because these beams are plenty strong and they were just as straight the day we took them out, which was a surprise considering how deteriorated they were, as they were when they were built by Laconia. On this side, and all the locations except for one, they have this little saddle which was made of a piece of channel iron, and it's obviously latter day because it was cut with a torch. And we don't know what happened to the original ones. When we look at the other side, we'll see they had a cast iron casting that fit a lot better than this did, but this is the way they ended up. And they have a wood spacer block here so that this is pushing up. Now, this is an air brake locomotive. That is, the brakes are operated by air. And in order to store the air, you have to have air tanks. This one has 3 tanks. This is what's called an auxiliary reservoir, which is a small one, and then there's a main reservoir down here. Because of deterioration, let me back up a little bit. Every air tank that goes on any vehicle we have here, we give what's called a hydro test. We pressurize water in them. If you pressurize air and anything let go, it would expand explosively and it would be dangerous. With water, which doesn't compress, the only compression is the slight stretching of the air tank. And we found 2 of the 3 original air tanks were bad. They had holes in them. One of them we didn't even have to pressurize. We just saw the holes. Fortunately, one of the originals, we were able to save. It was pressurized at 1.5 times its operating pressure, so it was pressurized about 200 pounds. This is an air tank that we found in stock. It was made in 1999 and originally had feet on the end, so they bolted it up. But we ground those feet off and used the original straps here, so you really can't tell. It looks virtually the same as an original tank. On the other side, we'll see another one that came from what's called a Philadelphia bridge car. It was a subway car. It's a little longer than the original, but it's the same diameter. And that was the critical thing. We'll talk about that when we get over to that side. On top of each one of these tanks, you'll see a block, which I just call a reservoir mounting. And because these were out to the edge of the car, when the water ran down, the ends of these just utterly disintegrated. So we made new ones out of old oak that was left over from some that we got for the decking, and fitted them on here. And then they're bolted down with a bolt on each end of these straps go around the whole tank. So there's 2 here and 2 down here. One original was good enough to use, but everything was cracked, even the new old wood. So we had to use a lot of epoxy filler, and right now they're as good as new.